It's Vinylly Mine is back, everyone. Yes, after a 15-month hiatus, I have decided to resurrect this show because I just love talking about vinyl, and I wanted to bring some vinyl to you, at least taking a look at the art and the design of various covers from my vinyl collection that I hope you find interesting. So we're going to pick up right where we left off on our last episode, where we looked at the original soundtrack produced and composed and recorded by Isacc Hayes, and it was to Shaft. It was a great 2 LP gatefold. I really enjoy that one quite a bit. I think it's a great design, and it's also a great soundtrack as well. Well, in 1971, another album with music from Shaft was released, but this one is slightly different. While the music is composed by Isacc Hayes, it's actually performed by Soulman and the Brothers, or as they were known in the UK and Israel, Mac Brown and the Brothers, and it was put out by Pickwick International, and it is music from Shaft 1971, record number SPC 3290. Now, if you're not familiar with Pickwick, the name, well, they are they were a record company that was in the US and a record distributor in the UK, and they handled stuff, the sound-alike stuff, those kind of off recordings that you even see today, where it says music from, but you find out it was made not by like the London Symphony Orchestra, but by some Hungarian orchestra. So it's a sound-alike album. They also put out bargain bin stuff, repackaged and reissued songs from old entries in catalogs, namely from Capitol Records they started out with, but in doing so, they could say they had some big names on their label, including Frank Sinatra, the Beach Boys, and even Nat King Cole, all appeared at one point on Pickwick International Records. So it's kind of an interesting company, but go figure, they wanted to strike while the iron was hot, and so they came out with the album of Shaft. And we're going to look at this one and see how it compares to that 2 LP gatefold, and discuss a little bit more about Pickwick International. So let's drop the needle and take a look, shall we? So here we are with the album. The photo, no, that's not from the movie, though it looks like it's from the movie. It's a really good representation. You've got the big name Shaft across it. Of course, the font is slightly different than the font that you have on the original album put out from Isacc Hayes, but it's still very grabbing. I do like the font that they used for it. It stands out for you on the shelf, and maybe they're playing off the idea that maybe someone will grab this thinking they're grabbing the Isacc Hayes album, and instead they're grabbing this one. Now, we do have the stamp here to prove that it is from Pickwick/33 Records. I do like the stamp actually on here quite a bit, and I actually like the picture that they took to kind of replicate the action from Shaft. The colors really stand out, and it feels like a scene from the film. And now if we flip her over to the back of the album, we see another picture here that's meant to show that it represent that it's from the movie Shaft, though that is not Roundtree on the cover. We do have a credit here for the photos that were taken. They were taken by Ken Beckles, and they did a really good job. Now, obviously, this isn't exactly up to the quality that the original soundtrack was put out, as you can tell here, but since it is being put out by this sound-alike company, it's kind of be expected. You still have the credits, you have the title again, and of course the track listing here, including the Bumpy's Lament track that's on here, which we'll get to in a minute. It has a bit of a significance in R&B and rap music. But anyway, very basic sleeve, a very basic cover. Now, speaking of the sleeve, we're looking at it. This, I believe, is the original sleeve that came with the record. This actually says RCA. Now, it'd be a good reason why it says RCA. In the 70s, Pickwick changed their mind, well, not change their mind, but decided to start doing some older catalog stuff from RCA RCA records, namely from their RCA Camden, which actually put out some Elvis Presley tunes. So there is even Elvis Presley having been released on Pickwick International label. So there is that connection there, but here it does make sense then that why we would have an RCA sleeve within this, because it is 1971 and they were starting to do RCA records. Now the record itself, I did get this from a thrift store, so there is unfortunately some pen markings on the label. The label is pretty basic, as you can see, nothing too fancy here, and I wish there wasn't the pen marking on there, but the price was right for it. And the record condition itself though is fantastic. There is no scratches on this, and it plays back fantastically. I've listened to this whole recording a number of times. Even though it's recorded by a house band and not the original artist, there is still quite a bit of talent here on this album, and I would recommend it for anyone who is interested in maybe some alternative takes on the classic Shaft soundtrack. Now, where I mentioned before this comes in for the R&B and rap connection, well, if you do listen to this, you may hear some familiar music on this record that you go, maybe I have heard this from before. Well, that's because music from this specific recording has been sampled on a number of rap and R&B songs. Dr. Dre used it in Explosive. He used the clips from the Bumpy's Lament. He sampled it from this recording for that song. Lil' Kim used it for Drugs, the song Drugs. And so also Sir used it for Dreaming of Me. So this album actually has still survived the ages with it being sampled by other folks, these specific recordings. So I found that very interesting as well. So there you have it, folks. Shaft by Soul Man and the Brothers. It's missing that edge that the Isacc Hayes recordings have. It's still good music, but it definitely does have a different feel to it, which once you listen to it, you can hear it right away going, oh yeah, this was produced with a not quite so high budget with different artists, but nonetheless, still definitely something that I think is worth listening to. So check it out if you do have this album. I'd love to hear your thoughts on Shaft performed by Soul Man and the Brothers. Subscribe if you haven't already, and hop on over to our Patreon page and join our Patreon tier. If you join the $5 tier, you can choose a vinyl that we will be covering on the next It's Vinylly Mine. And I got a little bit of a backlog I'm catching up on, but you can go there and vote from a poll from a number of albums, and we will review that on this show. So thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this, and remember, it's not yours, it's Vinylly Mine, and I'll catch you on the flip side.